Welcome back. As you can see, I have finished weaving. This part looks a little bit different because the high profile of this shuttle is a little hard to fit when it's in the really tight places. So I switched to using more of my scrap yarn and a stick shuttle of a different material because I was gonna weave just a couple of picks and get a nice clean line to do my sewing machine stitched hem so I could put it in the washer, and I will still put a stitch line there, but I will also probably put a stitch line here because this is, while it is scrap, it is still beautiful. And I was actually really hoping to take advantage of, it's hard to see, but there are blue speckles in the yarn here. Give me a second. I can probably make them a little bit easier to see. Okay. Can you see over my finger there are blue speckles like there, and there? There's a couple of them at the beginning, but I wanted to take advantage of it. And I didn't, they were too close to the end, unfortunately. I absolutely adored working with this shuttle, though it did have some consequences. My sweet spot meant I couldn't weave much closer to the heddle than about here before the shape of the triangle made that a harder pass to get through. So I would advance a little bit more frequently, but that's usually better anyway for tension because the difference in weaving here and here can be quite significant. So I basically wove in this range rather than closer to the heddle like I sometimes do with other projects. Now, another thing that you might be seeing and a little confused by is why are there two rods? Well, this rod is instead of this because I couldn't get my little bundles of threads into this space because it's closed. This is fixed. This is fixed. You can't get in here unless you're looping around the stick and you still have an end. Since I went through the heddle and tied my little knot bundles, I needed to thread a rod straight through it, and I was going to lash it on, but I used these, which are stretchy but work surprisingly well. They're scrunchies for babies, and they're very soft and lovely, and a couple of them together actually have some serious pulling power. The second rod is used because I needed to put something in the downshed and shove it back. Now, for the bulk of this project, I used an empty shuttle just like this. But when I was getting really close, I needed something that wasn't this wide, and something this wide wasted less space. So I used a second rod. Side note, these are the least sticks for my Louette Erica 4-shaft table loom, a loom which I absolutely adore and endorse, though I am not paid by anybody. It's a lovely exposure to 4-shaft weaving. It's a lightweight, very portable loom. I have never collapsed it in progress beyond once to take it to a convention where I was demonstrating, and it came back to life, no tension issues whatsoever, just not the most easy to collapse. I'm considering also getting the 16 shaft, 32 inch wide Ashford table loom because I would like something that does 16 shafts, but I also want something wide enough that I could do a flat panel garment. And unlike with a rigid heddle loom, since the reed or beater is supported, you're not picking up something heavier, you're just pulling something towards you, so the added weight from the added length has little to no effect, and it doesn't affect the balance of it. If you pick it up a little bit off center, it, 10 grams, 10 inches from your hand is very different than 10 grams, 15 to 20 inches from your hand. and that comes into play with having an even beat. One of the things that I did that was a little silly is I actually accidentally threaded this heddle backwards. So the sort of lumpy bit is frontwards. That said, it's pretty evenly across. It's not the full-on volcano kind of shaped or oblong volcano as some of the others, other brands. So I don't think I had as much of a problem with it because the high part is this long on this generation of Ashford 10. If it was shorter, I think I'd have more of a more difficulty or complication. That said, this was a wonderfully interesting project. I still don't know whether it's going to be clothing or if it's going to just be a shawl that takes advantage of the beautiful color gradations that happened in the yarn. Here, you can see the blue speckles I was talking about, actually. That said, it will let me know what it wants to be once I've washed it and see how much it shrank. Additionally, I still have these, which I think is enough to do about, I don't know, a quarter to a third of the slot threads. And my plan is to take navy and fill in all the rest of the slots and then do the top, the whole threads, just like you're seeing here and in the previous videos in this sequence. I think that'll make this sort of dark cousin fabric that might do well with each other. If I haven't, pardon me. If I have enough, I am considering making a kimono style jacket where the body panels are out of this and either the back is out of the dark cousin if I have to use it in that kind of volume, and then the sleeves are some sort of navy or black linen, or if I have enough, do the whole body out of this and then the sleeves are the dark cousin. The yarns I used were these for warp, this for weft, in my double bobbin shuttle from Handy Woman Shop, which I adore. I guess I'm doing them one at a time because my hand's just not picking that up. Okay, now let's get to see the magic and not leave schmutz all over my weaving. Okay. Why do I have knots behind? Oh, because there's one that's short and the knot slid forward, so it's still knotted around the heddle. There we go. Okay. The magic. This is what I want to preserve. This kind of color transition, and then it's happening back again to purple right here. This is what I want to preserve in its length. This may end up just being a shawl. So here's one section where the speckles are blue, like I was talking about in the front, at the tail end. And here's a section where the speckles were white. Another white speckle section. And there she is. I think this will be some beautiful, beautiful fabric when washed and fulled. I'm going to do standard sewing machine stitch lines, throw it in the washer and dryer, because if this is going to be clothing, it needs to be washable that way. And I think this is probably one of the most intrinsically gorgeous pieces of fabric I've ever created. And a lot of other things that I've made are beautiful and will be stunning in garments. This is probably the most standalone as fabric beautiful piece I've ever made, at least in my personal opinion. And I'm really happy that I finally used this 22-year-old piece of stash that was discarded by a dyer in the weaving studio, and I gave it new life eventually. And I think I succeeded. I'm going to see if I can track down Nancy Taylor, who was the weaving teacher at my college, which was Earlham College, and see if I can share this story with her, because I think she'd get a kick out of it. I know she's not at Earlham anymore, but we shall see, and I can at least share it with my weaving buddy from Earlham, whose projects I helped with a little bit, specifically, as opposed to as a general pair of hands in the studio when anybody needed me. Anyway, happy weaving, and let's go make some beautiful things together. Have fun on your weaving adventures. Please like and subscribe, and I would really be interested to know what the most beautiful thing you've ever woven was. What made it beautiful to you? For me, I love the random serendipity of what this yarn did, and I like that I was able to add the other half of the warp to be similarly or complementarily random, but in a way that worked well and blended into the magic of this. So yes, what did you find to be the most beautiful thing you've ever woven, and what made it so beautiful to you? Please share. I would love to hear your opinions. Have a wonderful day and happy weaving.